Okay, hello. Hopefully you can hear me okay today. I'll be using a different microphone, so let me know if you can't hear me or if there's a problem with the audio. Okay, my name is Olivia. Welcome to Touch Tank Tuesday. I'm the educator here at the Deep Bay Marine Field Station. We're a marine research station that's part of Vancouver Island University. Mostly we focus on shellfish research as well as research on shellfish aquaculture. So it's some interesting stuff. We have touch tanks here that are part of our education programs, and today we have a special guest from our touch tank. As usual, our guests today are scallops. So this will be a bit different than our last ones. When I hear the word scallops, I really think about going to a restaurant and ordering scallops. So I don't think about the animal itself, but scallops are bivalves. So they kind of look like this. When I go to the restaurant, there are these small, round, cushion-like food, but they actually look like this, and they're within the shell here. So this is one shell of the bivalve. And this is what I believe to be a Weathervane scallop. It could also be a hybrid, but this scallop is quite large, but they can actually get to be 30 centimeters in diameter. So they can get to be much larger than this. And as you can see on this, it has evidence of where barnacles would have started to form. And then this is the inside, right in here. And this is where a muscle would be located, where it's called the adductor muscle. And that muscle helps to open and close the shell. So the valves open and close. And so that muscle will contract, close, and then release to open the scallop back up again. And these are very popular. You've probably seen these shells on the beach or in the intertidal zone. And they're very popular with shell collectors because of how symmetrical they are and all of the beautiful colors that they have. So you might have collected a scallop shell and just not known what it was before. So they are quite cool organisms. Now, that adductor muscle is actually what we eat. So when we go to a restaurant, we order scallops, we are eating the adductor muscle, that muscle that helps to open and close the shell. And what's unique about scallops is their adductor muscle is very big because they need to open and close their shell very frequently in order to survive. So that's why that muscle is a delicacy, because it's just so big. And we'll talk about later why their muscle would be bigger relative to maybe other bivalves. So just like what we've learned about previously, the scallop is in a big group, so the phylum Mollusca, so they're mollusks. Just like when we talked about sea urchins and sea stars that were in that big phylum Echinoderms. So this is a different phylum. And then there's a smaller group called the class Bivalvia. So the class is bivalve. So these bivalves are, well, two, so bivalve shells. So two shells. So bivalves have two shells. And this class has oysters, clams, mussels, and scallops in it. And then within that group is a smaller group, the family Pectinidae, and that is where these scallops are. So those are scallops, that family. And there are many species, so it's actually quite debated how many species there are in the family Pectinidae. Some scientists believe more than 200 species. Not all of those are currently alive in the oceans. Some of those are just in the fossil record, so they're extinct. And scallops can live all over the ocean. So they are what we call opportunistic, where they will live in a variety of different environments. And it does depend on the species, what environment they live in, but they tend to be able to live even within one species in a variety of different environments and conditions. So they might have a wider temperature range where they do well. And that really is species dependent. But You can find them in shallow waters and in very deep waters. The majority of species are actually found between the tide line and 100-meter depths, but you can find them at all different depths and in all different parts of the ocean. So they really are an amazing species, and that's why they are really great for aquaculture and for harvesting for seafood, because they can be found pretty much in any ocean. Okay, so that's where they live. And they can actually live up to 20 years, depending on the species. Some of them have short lives, others have very long lives. So it really depends on the species. I'll show you an example. This is a different species than this one, I'm sure you can tell. So this one is the shell from a rock scallop, so a giant rock scallop. And I actually brought rock scallops today for you to see as our guest species. And so this is quite different. Very big surprise from our last guests. Since these are not echinoderms, they do not have pentaradial symmetry. What they have is bilateral symmetry, actually. The symmetry is between the two shells. So if there were two shells, those would be symmetrical, so they would be identical. So if you had opened it up, they would have two symmetrical sides, so bilateral symmetry. And scallops are filter feeders. So what that means is they eat phytoplankton. They bring water into their shells, so they'd relax that adductor muscle, bring water into their shells, and they would filter the phytoplankton from the water for digestion. And what's really unique about scallops and many scallop species is they are actually free living. So instead of something like an oyster that cements itself to a rock, scallops can actually swim. They don't swim like fish, but they do swim when they need to get away from prey or from predators. So if they're escaping maybe a sea star that wants to eat them, they can propel themselves by clapping open and shut their shell. So they will pull water in, and then they will push the water out again, and they'll continue going this way. So if this is the scallop, it would open and then go this way, and it would actually put itself into the water column, so it would float away. Sometimes they jump. So if it did this, it could jump and then hit down again. If it continued, it would swim through the water. And what I'll do is I'll post a really cool video of this later for you to see on our page. And I actually just had our scallop here shoot water, so it's called jet propulsion, shoot water towards me because apparently I'm threatening. So that's what's really cool about them, is that there are species that can swim. So like I said, the first reason would be to get away from predators like a sea star, and the second would be to find a better habitat. So maybe they've landed somewhere that they're not doing very well. They will actually propel themselves to a different substrate or a different place so that they can have a better life. So this is what's really unique about scallops. Another really unique thing is that scallops have eyes. Maybe not like ours, but they have bigger and more developed and complicated eyes than sea stars and sea urchins. Because sea stars and sea urchins have those optical spots that will sense light. So they're more like cells that receive light and can interpret that. But scallops actually have 10 to 200 eyes, and they can be found along their mantle. So when the scallop opens, you can see a mantle that comes around, and I'll be able to show you this on our rock scallop in a minute. And there are tiny little dots, and those tiny dots are actually eyes. And they are round like eyes, and if you see a very close picture, they really do look like eyeballs. But they are much simpler than our eyes, and they will receive light, and they actually can interpret and understand light's moving in patterns. So they'll be able to understand when light comes and motion. So they can really actually sense motion, which is so cool. And why don't I show you, I'll show you them now. Let's see if I can show you an up-close view. This might be a little awkward, of the scallop's eyes. So let's see if we can see. So these are rock scallops. And I will bring the scallop here. Oh, and you can see it actually just closed, and it would have closed with its adductor muscle. So it just closed its shell on us. So you can't see, yeah, eyes on a scallop. It's crazy to see. So you actually can't see right now inside because it sensed, probably with its eyes, that I was coming, and it's closed its shell. And this one has also closed its shell, but it might jump. Earlier, it tried to use jet propulsion out of the water at me, and it actually jumped out of my hands and back into the water. So it's a very cool mechanism they have for escaping predators. So here, I'll show you. This is a juvenile, so a much younger rock scallop. It's a giant rock scallop. You can see there's some pink tentacles that are going around the shell. And when it opens, you'll be able to see a mantle. And on this rock scallop, there are little spines along the shell, which is quite cool. And this is actually an adult rock scallop. So this will turn into this after a couple years. They don't really look that similar, but you can really tell the difference because of that orange mantle. You can see some of those tentacles are coming out again. Let's see, I'll hold it here and see if they'll come in, if they'll open up again. So I will wait for them to open up and just chat with you about scallop aquaculture. So scallops are really important for our seafood industry here in BC. They can be harvested in a variety of different ways. So the way that they come from the ocean to your plate in a restaurant might be different. There's two major ways. One is wild harvesting. Here, Lisa has a question. Light sensors or water movement sensors or both? So I think, from my understanding, that the eyes are for light sensing, but actually their tentacles would sense the water movement. So I don't think that the eyes would sense it. Maybe just because the water might move the eyes, they might be able to sense that. But the tentacles are the main way of them sensing movement in the water. It's a really great question. So actually you can see they've opened up quite a lot. I can see from where I am the small eyes on the scallop. They're these tiny dots. They are tiny blue dots, but you can't really see them from the camera. So what I'll do is probably post another picture to the comment section later on so that you can see them a little bit better. But that scallop is fully open, and it's now filtering water through its mantle there. You can see its mantle opening and closing, and its tentacles are creating a bit of a current there. Woo! Yep, there it is. That was the swimming scallop. So it must have seen me here. And what it did was it pulled water in and clapped its shell closed and threw itself to the other side of the bowl. That's so cool. So that is its mechanism for getting away from predators. Okay, let's see if this one will end up opening, this scallop here. So again, about shellfish aquaculture and harvesting scallops. So scallops, like I said, can be harvested from the wild, or they can be actually farmed, just like oysters are farmed. I'm going to rotate this because that scallop is so active. So when they're harvested in the wild, basically there is special fishing gear, and it depends on the scallop whether it's needed to actually trawl, so the gear would go along the ocean floor, or if they would just be required to use their fishing gear close to the bottom of the ocean floor. And that's actually a really important distinction when we're looking at sustainable harvesting, just because sometimes trawls that need to go on the ocean floor will actually cause a lot of damage. But when they're harvesting much smaller scallops, kind of like the pink scallop or the Pacific pink scallop, so they'd be about this size of this one that's right here, they don't actually need to go on the seafloor, which is fantastic. It helps to preserve the environment. And when they are actually catching these in the wild and selecting them out, they will only collect a certain number. So every year there are population assessments done to make sure that there is an okay number of scallops that are available in the wild. And what that means is that the population can replenish itself. It's not going to go down. So there's the same number of individuals. And so this population assessment helps them to decide how many scallops should be taken out of the ocean. And then harvesters will count and weigh their scallops to make sure that they're not over harvesting. So it is quite sustainable, and especially here on Vancouver Island, there are a lot of scallop harvesters that are out there harvesting scallops. And just so that and they're ocean-wise, I believe, depending, you can take a look at where you're getting your scallops from and make sure that they are sustainably harvested. Oh, wow. That is a really great view. Oh, you can see that jet propulsion of water there again. This is a very active scallop, which is really great for us to see. Okay, and the second way that shellfish or scallops end up on your dinner plate can be through farming. And so there are a couple industrial or commercial hatcheries, and scallops are very similar to oysters. They spawn and are fertilized, and they develop into larvae that are free floating, and then they settle to the floor to continue growing. And so scallops can be spawned and grown in a hatchery until they're ready to go out into the ocean. And that is what is done here on Vancouver Island. There are a couple species that are farmed. And, oh, you can see the tentacles here. It's really cool. Oh, and it closed back up. So they can definitely sense the water movement. And so on Vancouver Island, there are hatcheries that produce scallop seeds, and then those seeds are taken out into the ocean, and just like oysters, they can be suspended in the water column. So they don't touch the ocean, the sea floor. They are just in the water column, and they require pristine waters. So it's really great when a farm is created. We spend a lot of time being more aware of what's in our water, what's going into the water, any toxins, any runoff, because it's really important to have very clean, pristine water for both scallop and oyster farming. So, and because these are filter feeders, they feed themselves. So scallop farms do not have to add anything to the water. There's no need to add fertilizers or anything. They will just take from the natural environment. And a lot of the times they actually create their habitat for other species. So you'll find diversity will be the same or increased in these shellfish farms that are suspended in the water column. Oh, and it looks like it's pulling water in and clapping. That is so cool. And you can see the eyes. So those little dots at the base of the tentacles, I wish I could show you. I think it might close. But there are these tiny little dots there and there. Those are the eyes. So those are little round eyeballs, which is so cool. And that's the mantle that's closing there and allowing water in. Does anyone have any questions so far about these scallops? No, that's okay. I don't see, actually I'll check. Oh, I didn't see all of these questions here. Oh, okay, so now I will do question time. It wasn't updating for me. So, oh, on the closer, yes, so Lisa, those little black dots are the eyes. Very good. Okay, perfect. You can see them. So are phytoplankton live animals or are they plants? That's a great question. So it's a little bit, they are animals that have photosynthetic properties, so they act like plants. So they're like, phytoplankton are like algae. Well, algae is microplankton, and then zooplankton are larger animals, but they do require light for feeding. So I'll probably be able to give you a better answer afterwards. I'll write for you some more information on them. Sorry, it's out of focus now, but that was really great. We were able to see a lot from these three. The larger one's much less active, as you can see. It's not even opening up to allow its tentacles out at this point, so we've probably scared it too much. Okay. Thank you for all the questions. I'm sorry I didn't see them until now. Any other questions about scallops? Well, you think about it, it's really quite cool having scallops as seafood, so producing them, because usually they're traditionally harvested out in the ocean, but when we see populations decline, it's kind of very innovative to work towards farming them rather than harvesting them from local environments. So you're producing and collecting without a huge impact on the environment, which is great. Yeah, so these are both, they're found in deep bay. So not very close to shore, they're a little bit deeper into the water, but they're found there. They're found all actually around Vancouver Island, which is really cool because they inhabit a lot of different areas. I know for the small pink scallops, they like more sandy areas. So it really depends on the bottom. So we have sandy closer to shore, and then it becomes rocky as you go out. So we would probably have the smaller ones that prefer the sand closer to shore, and then others that prefer larger rocky areas would be farther from shore. That's a great question. Lisa, Lisa May, have you seen scallops before in Deep Bay? Because I know you've been here before. I've definitely seen shells in the area. So when you go on the beach, pretty much any of those beautiful shells, they can be a lot smaller than this, but when they have that symmetry and kind of look, oh, you haven't seen any? Okay, I've seen some, but not many. So maybe they're a bit more populated in other areas. Mostly I've seen them alive when we go and take a look at the species that are out there. So a little bit deeper in water. And as you could see, they wouldn't like to be above water very often, because when I took that one scallop out, it just tried to get away by jumping, thinking it was still in the water. So it's quite interesting. Okay, well, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. Next week, we will have another special guest, and it'll be a bit of a holiday special. It will be the last one. Next Tuesday will be the last session before the holidays, and then we will be back in January. So thank you so much, and oh yeah, do they just sit on top of the sandy areas? Yeah, so it depends. So with the rock scallops, when they're older, so when they're younger, they swim in the water, or push themselves through the water. I'm not sure if we can call it swimming. It's a form. But when they're older, they actually will settle onto a substrate and they will stay there. So the larger ones, because you can imagine that when they're very large, they can't go as far when they snap their shell. So they're a little bit more sessile and they stay in one place. Thank you so much. Oh, it is clapping and jumping again. I'll get these guys back into the touch tanks because they clearly want to go. But I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.